Are we live? 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 Because we got the entertainer, Chris, my good friend on the channel. He's I stole the name Talking Giants from him back in the day. That's actually how we met. I was like, hey, I hope you know that I didn't steal this name from you. But finally, he came after me, shut it all down, and I had to start this new YouTube channel.
I'm the reason you guys split up. You're right. You didn't mention that in your video, so my apologies to all the Talking Giants fans out there.
Yeah, so the people are saying we are live, so we are live. It's good to see you, dude. How are you?
Man, I'm excited to be on, man. Excited that you're starting your own platform, as we talked about, and yeah, man, I think you're gonna do great things as you've been doing on YouTube ever since I got to know you. Had you on my channel, and just happy, man, that you stuck by your guns and you decided to go independent. And I think nothing but great things for you in this channel going forward. I'm sure Giants fans are excited.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun. Obviously, me and you have known each other for a while. I've always enjoyed talking to you about like content business, because it's like I don't know. Obviously, you got a full-time job that you're focused on more, but it's like a legitimate business. But like when people ask like, what do you do? Yeah. It's like I broadcast. It's like I don't want to explain all of what
I remember when I'm not going to say what agency, but I work for the government now, and I remember when I filled out my resume. I was like, what do I put? Because I was doing this full time. So I'm like, what do I put? I was like, podcaster. New York sports podcaster. It's like you said, it's kind of weird.
Right. But we're going to talk some Giants as we get ready for the draft. I mean, we're just ramping up draft week. Defensive tackle preview came out today. Travis Hunter film breakdown tomorrow for the wide receivers. We're going to do a fan mock draft. So it's definitely one of my favorite weeks of the year when it comes to it. Because it's just like you put so much effort into the NFL draft, and then it finally is here. So I'll keep it simple with you. What do you think? And then what do you want with pick 3 for the New York Giants?
I think we're going to Abdul Carter. And I'm going to be honest. I thought for up until about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I really thought we were going to take Shedeur Sanders. Because I was under the impression, like I feel like you were early on, because you were obviously a big proponent of not bringing back Joe Schoen because of the job he did. And I think you were probably worried that he was going to try to save his job. And I was always of the thought process that the best opportunity for Joe Schoen to be able to keep his job and save his job would be to try to sell Mara on a long-term vision of drafting a quarterback. And we were drafting 3 overall. So I thought we were going to go Shedeur. I didn't think Cam would get to us, and I thought we were going to be going Shedeur. But all the attention, all the guys that I think we trust as terms of insiders seem to be pointing towards that direction. Now you're starting to hear some chatter a day or today, because I don't know. I feel like they need something to talk about. But to me, Bobby, and we'll see. Maybe we'll be wrong. I'll be wrong. I think you agree with me though in terms of Abdul Carter. Maybe we'll be wrong on draft night, but it just feels like that. At least the vibe I got from Joe Schoen's press conference was he's trying to calm down the portion of the fan base that wants them to go quarterback no matter what. And he constantly said throughout that press conference, we're going to go best player available. Well, the best player available is undeniably, assuming Travis Hunter's off the board, which most people seem to think will be the case with the Browns, especially when you look at the pattern that the Giants didn't even bring him in for a top 30 visit, unless I'm wrong on that. If you look at Joe Schoen's history, he has never drafted a guy early in the draft, whether it be first round, second round, that he did not bring in for a top 30 visit. I think the Giants think he's not going to be there, and they've directed their attention towards Abdul Carter. So that's where I think they're going to go. And I think he's the best player in this draft. I've said I was in awe, Bobby. I watched that Notre Dame, the Notre Dame Penn State playoff game, and he was hurt in that game, mind you. He looked like not just the best player in the field. He looked like the best player in the country that night, and he was hurt in a playoff game against one of the best offensive lines in the country in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and I was drooling. I actually live streamed that game with Bad Dog, and I remember saying it constantly throughout that game, Giants may want to consider taking this guy. And that was when I thought we were going quarterback. But I think he's the best player in this draft, and when you look at the importance of that position, if the Giants don't love a quarterback, which it appears they're at least split on, that's what I think they're going to do. And I would have been fine. I know I don't think you're a big Shedeur Sanders fan. I like Sanders. I wouldn't use the term love. I like him, and I like him enough knowing how desperate the Giants are, where I would have got on board with the Giants drafting a quarterback. But all that being said, I'm so used to talking to Bad Dog. Bobby.
Oh, I've been doing it with Grump. I've been calling him Justin for like 2 weeks.
There you go. But all that being said, I don't know if you're a Giants fan, how you could complain if the Giants end up with, at least who I feel, who is the best player in the draft at number 3 overall. It kind of stinks that we don't have a long-term answer at the quarterback spot. And we were hoping, being with the number 3 overall pick, that we may get that this year, or at least some hope at that position. But Bobby, I'll be in love if they end up with Abdul Carter. So I've come around to the fact that not only do I think they're going to take him, that's kind of who I want at this point, because I feel like he's the best player in the draft. And I thought he wouldn't get there. I thought he would go 1 or 2 early on, and now it feels like he's going to drop in our lap.
Yeah, I'm in the same opinion of, like, I just love watching Abdul Carter. It's just so fun to watch him. Like, I like Abdul Carter so much that when people point out his negatives, it just sounds like blah blah. It's like I'm like, you're just a hater. Like I'm becoming one of those people who says differing opinions are haters with Abdul Carter. And you mentioned the Notre Dame. It's just he's new to the position. But like you said, I didn't think he was going to be the Giants pick, because at one point it felt like the Titans were going to trade out or take Abdul Carter. And if they traded out, we would assume that the Giants would have been heavily involved in doing that. And then that would have been for Cam Ward, not Abdul Carter. And then it felt like the Browns were going to do it. And then now it seems like the Browns are all but locked in on Travis Hunter. When it comes to the Shedeur thing, he is my second best quarterback in this class. And I think it's actually pretty by a wide margin. Like, I really don't like QB3 in this class. Like, this idea that Jackson Dart, I don't like Jackson Dart at all. Jalen Milroe, if they get him, it's like, all right, this is a guy who can be great.
Yeah.
Get excited about the potential, but at the end of the day, I think is a bad quarterback. And bad quarterbacks usually don't become good in the NFL. Even though, again, he is a freak athlete. He's got a big arm, and he seems like he's like a really smart, hardworking dude. I can understand buying into that, at least with a flyer on day 2. But I'm actually starting to buy into this, and maybe this is what I tell myself every year: don't buy into draft rumors. One, because it's the time of year where I don't trust people that I trust, but I don't know if it's about the week of it hitting. You start to buy into it a little more, but I am starting to think that there maybe is a little bit more of a divide.
It feels like
the Giants between the Giants front office and coaching staff. I actually watched the Nick Villado clip that he posted of Todd McShay's podcast, and he basically said it flat out. It wasn't like beating around the bush. And then I had someone text me today saying, because I was like, Shedeur at 3 ? And he says, yes, it's real. I wouldn't bet it. Don't think they will risk it at end of day, but it's still being strong debate as a possibility. Front office selection more than the coaches, and front office has more equity. Again, do I take that as fact? No. It's the pre-draft rumors are, again, I just don't trust them. I remember last year, they're really interested in J.J. McCarthy. And then you find out after the fact that they had no interest in J.J. McCarthy, that they like Michael Penix more than J.J. McCarthy. So I'm not convinced on what they're doing. I'm hoping Abdul Carter. I think it's Abdul Carter. That's kind of what, where the winds have been blowing. I think they're spending so much time on the non-first round quarterbacks that it makes me feel like they're, why would they be spending so much time with Tyler Shugg and Jalen Milroe if they really thought they were going to take Shedeur at 3? I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm hoping Abdul Carter. What I think it becomes, as soon as they do put that pick in, Chris, I think it gets really crazy, because I don't think the rumors of them wanting to trade back up for whoever are bullshit either. There was rumors, after the Malik, before Penix was even traded, there was rumors that came out that the Giants were thinking of trading up for Penix.
I want to get your opinion on that, Bobby, because a lot of people I see bring up that possibility on Twitter. And when I've done my live YouTube shows in the channel that you were talking about before the show that I do a couple of days a week with Bad Dog and Anthony, they bring up that exact idea. They say, well, we could take Abdul Carter at 3, and we could hope that Shedeur Sanders or Jalen Milroe or whoever, Jackson Dart, drops to a spot where we could trade up. I hate that idea.
Me too.
This is my mindset on this, Bobby. The Giants are beyond desperate for a quarterback. We all know that. You have the opportunity to take one at 3. Everybody is selling this quarterback draft class as mediocre at best. Most people at the beginning said it was a 2 quarterback draft with a lot of day 2 prospects in this draft, and it feels like Jackson Dart throughout the process has been propelled up. It seems that way for Jalen Milroe too. If your team is desperate as the Giants are to take a quarterback, and you don't take one at 3, How am I supposed to be excited and sold as a fan that you didn't love the guy enough at 3 in what is supposed to be a mediocre quarterback class to begin with, but you're okay by giving up future draft capital to jump up to 20 or 21 or 22 to take the quarterback? I think, in my opinion at least, and I really want to get your take on this, like I said, I'm going to be completely fine if Joe Shane goes Shedeur. I think, and at this point, slightly hope they go Abdul Carter, even though I selfishly want a quarterback of the future because I do think he's the best player in this draft. But I'd be fine if they take Shedeur 3. If that's their guy, you never know when you're going to get another opportunity to do this. You live and die with the quarterback. We all know that as fans. If that's your guy, if you identify he's the guy, go ahead and do it. But he's got 2 paths for me. You either take your quarterback at 3 or you don't take a quarterback until day 3. Because if you're going to go down the path of going Abdul Carter, you better win 7 or 8 games, Bobby, next year. And you better make this team as competitive as you possibly can to be able to retain your job going forward. So that's my mindset. I am completely against this idea of fans saying, oh, if Jalen Milroe drops to 29 or 30 with those athletic traits with Dable here, let's go up and get him. You don't know if Dable's going to be here past next year. If the Giants win 4 or 5 games next year, Joe Shane and Dable are out of here if they don't take a quarterback at 3 overall, at least in my opinion. But that's my mindset. You either take the quarterback at 3, or I don't even want to be thinking about a quarterback until at least the 3rd round.
Yeah, I'm of similar mindset where, like you said, like if you believe in that quarterback to trade up to pick 20 and giving up the capital that comes with that, then like you should be comfortable taking him at pick 3. Yeah. Now it can work out, right? You see the Ravens, got Lamar Jackson while they were screwing around with it, taking Hayden Hurst above him. But I'm in full agreement there. Where just take the quarterback if that's what you think on him. But I think there's got to be some type of split in the like. Here's what we know: there is at least some people in the Giants that have prominent roles who don't want Shedeur Sanders. Like we through all this smoke, that's something we can decipher. Who is it? We don't know. And so then you're trading up for a quarterback that those people who basically stopped you from picking him at 3, now you're going to take him at pick 21, which is, again, a big investment, which even if you just had the 21st pick, considering you got to trade up. So that's where I'm at. Again, if day 2, day 3 quarterbacks, I don't believe in. I also don't believe that Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe are going in the 1st round. I just don't see any team being that desperate. So we'll see what happens there. I do think they will take one on day 2, which is a little easier to swallow because I think they'll end up being wasted picks, but they're less valuable wasted picks.
If you take them in the 4th round, you look at it like, if they're a backup, it's not really a wasted pick. With what backup quarterbacks make nowadays, the good ones make $10 million a year. So I'm fine if you want to take a shot there, but not at 34.
If they not at 34. If they take Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe at pick 34, I mean, you know me, I'm not going to be like screaming and crying, but I'm not going to be happy with that at all. Yeah. But round 3 is where I'll take, like, if you take a swing in round 3 on Jalen Milroe, I'll be okay with it. With Jackson Dart, I really don't like Jackson Dart. I won't be happy with that. So we'll see. Let's talk with the chat a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Your intern is here. He says he needs his own intern too.
What's going on, man?
Interns talk, so send him my way. Tana was the one who put me on. I remember going on your channel before training camp 2021 or 2020. And that's like when it was 2020 because it was when we first got a YouTube, and I was like, dang, this guy. People like this Entertainah talking Giants guy. Thank you, Duncan, and thank you. Mark Sullivan will scream if Sanders at number 3, Hampton or Harmon at number 34. Hey, let me ask you this: what are you like hoping for at pick 34?
I'm normally, and Mark, man, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. I'm normally not a running back guy early, but I'm gonna tell you what, Bobby, and I don't think he's getting there. I think Hampton's going to go top 20, top 25. I think there's a case to be made. He may be the best running back in this draft class. That's how talented I think he is. When I've watched some of the clips of him, obviously most people are going to say Genty, understandably so, but he's that good. I think he is a legitimate 1st round running back. If he were to fall to the 2nd round, you look around the league. I'm kind of like a trend guy, Bobby, and you look around the league. Look at all the teams that did well last year. I'm not necessarily saying that running backs are making a comeback long term. Like, I don't think teams are going to believe in investing in running backs past the age of 27, 28. That's not going to change because they fall off a cliff. But look at all the top teams. Most of them had a mobile quarterback and a dominant running back. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Gibbs with the Detroit Lions, Cook with the Bills. That's become a last time the Giants had a good offense. They had the running ability of Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. They actually, I think, were among the league leaders in rushing that year between quarterback and running back. So
they had the number 2 QB running back rushing duo to Hurts and Sanders that year.
So I am not going to shy away from taking what I feel is an elite talent at the running back position if he trickles down to 34. Even though I'm of the belief, and I'm hoping we go defensive tackle with that pick because it seems to be one of the strengths of this draft, or offensive line. I'm always for taking offensive linemen when you can get them. But I want to go line with that pick in an ideal world. If a guy like Hampton were to trickle down, I wouldn't be upset at all if the New York Giants went that route. I think he's a playmaker that could open up this offense, and you get him for relatively cheap for the next 4 years. So I'm completely fine with that if the Giants went that route, if he were to fall. I think he's too good.
Chris, I know I'm keeping you from the Knicks game, so I just want to give you a quick update. They're down 22-0. No, I'm kidding. I can only hope. So I'm with you on Hampton, but that's because I don't think he's going to be there though. Like, what is there like a defensive tackle, offensive lineman that you're like, man, I hope that guy falls?
What's his name? He's not going to get there. I think he plays for Ole Miss, right?
Walter Nolan.
Yeah, Walter Nolan. He's not going to get there, but I would love if we got him. I think he's dynamite. But I don't think he's dropping past the early 20s from every mock that you read. He's a guy that I would love. I think there's 3 or 4 D tackles we could go there, and I lean that's what we're going to do. But yeah, Walter Nolan is the first guy that pops in my head when you bring up who am I hoping falls to 34, but I don't think it'll happen. But it's so hard to project, Bobby, what's going to happen at pick 34. For the same, nobody mocked Xavier McKinney to go to the Giants in the second round the year that he did because everybody thought he'd go to the Dallas Cowboys in the middle of the first round. So you never know who's going to fall. I just think the Giants need to take the best player, whether that be a running back. If there's a guy that's ranked in the top 15, 16 players, I think they got to take that guy. The Giants don't have enough good football players on their team. That's
what's beautiful about pick 34 is there's always a couple guys who are like, wow, that guy fell out of the first round. Those are the guys that I want. Now this year's class I've kind of listened to it until I finally did an exercise of a mock draft, which I'm going to bring up in a second. And I'm like, ooh, this class does kind of stink in the teens because it's like these are guys I view as like second rounders, and I'm mocking them at 14th overall. And you're like, Bobby, you're mocking them. Why are you doing a mock? Well, I'm going to tell you something because it's not a mockingbird. It's a mock. I'm talk over. So, Pickpool. You've been tweeting your guys' mock drafts for weeks, but now it's time to actually put them to the test. I want to tell you guys about Pickpool, a free iOS app and web platform that tests your abilities to predict the first round of the NFL draft. Pickpool is completely free. Just lock in your picks and compete with hands on draft night. And here's the best part. We've got our own Giants Nation show contest on Pickpool. So I've already put it in there. It's a free contest. And I'm going to put something up here right now because I'm going to put it in the chat. And this is, we're getting new to advertising on this show. So what they're going to have to deal with is the fact that I'm a little bit sloppy with this stuff. So I'm going to put the link in here. It's pickpool.app. And so the code is GNS4L. And I type on my new keyboard on my new.
I saw your setup today on Twitter. You posted. You got some bright lights, man.
It's too big. It's too big. I'm used to the little, this is what I've been working off of for literally 6 years.
Yeah.
And now I'm on this big monitor and stuff, and it's crazy. And I have to keep this plugged in at all times or it dies.
It's a good looking setup though, man.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's been, it's been awesome. But the part of the reason I'm able to do that is pickpool.app. So make sure to go in again. So here's it's not just putting it in there. Again, the password for the group is GNS4L. And I've already submitted my mock draft. If you can beat me, the guys at Pickpool will send you a free Giants Nation show sticker, the value of $10,000. And if you make it to the top of the leaderboard, you'll win some brand new Giants Nation and Pickpool merch, custom prize boxes made just for our contest. It sucks picking the top 5 every year and having little to care about after the first 15 minutes of the draft. but not this year. Pickpool makes every pick matter. Stay in, beat my mock, and win some Giants Nation gear while you're at it. Again, that's pickpool.app. Look for the Giants Nation Show contest, which is right at the front of the app, and use code GNS4L. So those guys are supporting us. Go support them. The guy, the main guy who runs it, he is a Giants fan, so that's obviously why he's interested in this, and it's free, so you get a chance to get free. You'll probably beat me because I'm so locked in on the Giants pick that like the rest of my.
Oh, so it's not Giants specific. You have to pick the entire first round.
Yeah, it's just the first round.
Okay.
So pickpool.app or early supporters. So go support them. I think there's like 250 spots in there. How many people do we have in the chat? Almost 600. All right, let's go fill that up. Because they're going to be sponsoring tomorrow's live stream as well. Go fill that up for
cool app.
Yeah,
it's very seasonal. You can the draft only comes around once a year, but it's a cool app.
Yeah, and I think they're like setting up. They do some other stuff with like fantasy football where they use they actually have like a way to like pick offensive line. So there's other stuff they do, but this is the thing that they're really pushing right now. Because again, we all fill out like way too many mock drafts. Like I'll literally just be bored and like let me just go through.
I am so Bobby. The pre-draft process to me. I used to get excited to do content the entire offseason. It's become like preseason football for me. Like once preseason football is within like 2 or 3 weeks, you're so excited. You're like, at least for me, I don't know how you feel, but you're like, football's back. I can't wait to watch the first preseason game. Then you watch the first preseason game and you're like, okay, now I need the regular season to get here. And for me, it's the same thing with the pre-draft process. As soon as the season's over, I'm so pumped up to look at the mock drafts. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, I'm like, okay, I need the draft to get here. I need to know who the Giants are actually going to get. Because, Bobby, all these guys, they just change who the Giants take. I'm not saying you. I'm saying like all these, these professionals. They change who the Giants take every week. And it's just like, okay, I've had enough. I just need to know who we're going to take, and I need to get excited for the season. That's how I feel about the draft. I'm kind of like done. Well, we're 3 days away now, but I'm done analyzing mock drafts. Just show me who we get. That's what I want to know.
People are asking for the password, which means they're doing it. So thank you, people. It's GNS4L. So it's Giants Nation Show for life.
Awesome.
So appreciate those guys. So I want to get to some other chat. I saw there was a good chat that wasn't a super chat, and we'll get to the super chats obviously. But it was about the like us being against trading up. Where is it? Because I want to talk about that.
Okay.
But I like when people push back on that. Where are you? All right. So, but anyway, sorry for the person that couldn't find it. They were talking about
Let me see if I can find it. What you talk?
Yeah, and I don't want to just open super chats. There's good conversations in the chat. Yeah, it's different than just pick 3. I understand. Like it's like I don't think me and Chris just were like, oh yeah, it's the same exact value. Our point is like, but franchise quarterback is not something you screw around with.
Exactly.
So if you believe that guy is worthy of making that big like investment, because it is a big investment. It's not the biggest investment possible, but it's a big investment. If you think he's willing of that, then just take him at pick 2.
Exactly what you just said is exactly what I feel. When it comes to the quarterback position, you just hit it on the head. To me, there's value at every other position for me. When it comes to quarterback, I don't believe in value. If you see quarterback and you like quarterback and you need quarterback, you take quarterback.
Yeah, it's as simple as that, right? Like, I put together my big board every year, and I haven't done every single prospect of guys that are going to go in the first round. But here I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that I have rated higher than Cam Ward. Guess who I'd be picking at first overall? Cam Ward. So, I wouldn't be like, he just doesn't. I want to do a Carter, and then maybe we could trade up to pick 7 and then get Cam Ward. Let's say the Texans trade they did for Will Anderson. People bring up that, but what the Texans did is they took C.J. Stroud at 2, and then they did the trade up for 3 to get Will Anderson. That's different than, that's different than if they took Will Anderson at 2 and then at pick 5 tried to trade up for C.J. Stroud because he wasn't off the board. So
tell me the last time, Bobby, a team is traded down to take a quarterback. It doesn't happen. There's no such thing as value at the quarterback position. If you like a quarterback, you take the quarterback, or you do everything in your power to go up and get him. And if we were in a different situation where we kind of had a quarterback, I'd be more open to these ideas. Like if we we're in the situation to like what the Eagles had when they had Carson Wentz and they had just extended him, where they clearly viewed that he was what they thought was the franchise quarterback. They gave him like record-breaking money, and then they drafted Jalen Hurts anyway. I'd be more open to trading up for a quarterback you may like. The Giants don't have a quarterback. They need a quarterback, and they're picking at the top of the draft. If you don't feel – that's just the way I feel. If you don't feel strongly enough to take the guy at 3, I don't want you trading up to 23, 24 to get the third or fourth best quarterback in a weak quarterback class. I think it's silly.
Agreed. Juicy White, I would pay ungodly amount to be a fly on the wall more than we got to be last year. And again, I couldn't believe how open they were on Hard Knocks. It was unbelievable. It was kind of unbelievable. I feel bad. Some people are like Ben asked, assuming Cardinals will pick their packages with all 3 rushers on the field, what grade would you have given Carter as a pure off-ball linebacker? Like the only film I've seen of Carter really as an off-ball linebacker was of him moving forward as a rusher. Because it's like, man, look at what this guy was doing. So I can't give you like my full I don't know how much of that you watch. And again, Juicy White. And people also forget we have a lot of cap on the top 110 this year, and all these picks will show us if they're for the best interest of the team or saving jobs. I hope the former. I won't hold my breath. Peter Turner says hello. Wish Shane hadn't wet his pants and traded up to get Banks when he could have waited and got Porter. He's wasted picks trading up all 3 years. Not the first year. But he certainly did it, and I don't think he even did it last year. It was just 2023 when he traded up for Hyatt.
Yeah, he didn't trade up last year. I don't think. I'd have to think about it, but I don't think he did.
Max Webster, he's going to be an iRacer for the Giants Nation show, which is pretty big. I'm trying to Giants Nation show is basically just a way for me to like do NASCAR stuff. So I even shot my shot at Charlotte Motor Speedway today. I was like, hey, we'll do a live show at Charlotte if you bring me there.
You're a big NASCAR guy, huh?
So for John, I as a kid, I grew up like you see the stuff in the back. As a kid, I grew up. My dad raced,
right?
So
I
obviously,
that. Yeah.
So obviously, I liked racing, and even at 12 years old, because I was big, we lied about how I don't know how my mom let us do any of this shit. By the way, we lied about my age because you had to be 14 to race at the quarter-mile dirt track, and so I raced, and I flipped the car over, like legitimately flipped the car over. And they, they got a little more strict with stuff after that when, like, this 12-year-old kid comes climbing out the, the window of a race car, and then once I started playing football, I kind of just fell out of love with racing. And then we did through John Boy Media, they do like this, like like they just bring people to the track and like let them do stuff to bring attention, obviously. And that kind of made me fall back in love with it. As soon as the Daytona and then the Chicago street race. And I was like, man, like this is kind of fun. And I think you can relate to this a little bit, Chris, is the Giants are always going to be my number one fandom. But doing all this does make it a little bit of a job. Where racing is just like, I can just watch. I can listen to podcasts. I don't need to have takes I don't need reasonable takes. I can just cuss out whatever guy I don't like. Like, I can just kind of enjoy it a little more. So I think that's kind of, and it falls in the NFL off season. So, all right, let's get to some of these non-super chats. Yeah, people are saying, I think we're going to cut the music out of that ad. Two giant goofballs. I love those guys. If we trade up for Shador after not getting him at 3, it reminds me slightly of the Lamar Jackson draft. Ravens could have had. Again, the argument for me is not that it won't work. But the argument I would say is, well, if the Ravens had hindsight, they'd be like, hey, you know what we shouldn't do? Draft Hayden Hurst. We should just draft Lamar and let's keep other picks and not draft Hayden Hurst.
And it's also, to me at least, it's apples and oranges because one, at that time, the Ravens weren't as desperate for a quarterback as we are. Joe Flacco was still at least decent. And 2, that was a super rich quarterback class. Like, all those guys, like Josh Rosen was thought to be a potential first overall pick. Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. Lamar Jackson only went as late as he did in that draft because of how rich that quarterback class was to begin with. So it's apples and oranges to me.
I also think taking quarterbacks has changed in the NFL, where I think as we've seen guys like Lamar and Josh Allen find success, I think
are open to it. Yeah,
I think people are more like, all right, you know what, like. Why don't we just take the Heisman winning quarterback who's fast as fuck? Like, like we can, let's see if we can work through some of these issues. So like, I don't think if Lamar just was in this class and you didn't have this, obviously this hindsight that it's going to be great, I think he probably would go first overall. Like
Because it's not like Bobby. It's not like he didn't have college production. He won a Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, he was amazing in college.
Yeah, so it's not like Milroe, who you could see he's got the physical traits of a Lamar Jackson, or at least that style of quarterback, who doesn't have tons of production at the collegiate level.
Correct.
Lamar Jackson had the accolades to back it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But even like a Lamar makes me more willing to take a swing on a Jalen Milroe on day 2.
Yeah.
Because
I
of like
scream if they did it. It's just not my preference.
Yeah, I mean, at pick 34, I'd be pretty bothered by that.
Yeah.
Pick 65, I'd get behind it a little more. Ravens could have had Lamar and Nick Chubb. Yeah, that would have been nice. But imagine a running.
Lions could have had Lamar and Nick Chubb.
They could have had Saquon and Lamar if they did the trade up.
Yeah.
But could you imagine that? Just a rushing attack at Saquon.
Ugh.
Someone asked, like, what's the if you had hindsight, what's one move that you would change over the last 10 years? And I was like, it's probably take Josh Allen or Lamar. And then I was like, you know what? I was like, it's definitely take Saquon and then trade up for Lamar, or take Quentin. Like, just trade up for Lamar, and then you get to keep that second overall pick in Saquon, and then just create like the best rushing attack known to man.
Yeah,
with Pat Shurmur as the head coach. I know that's a little weird,
but yeah, if you could go back in time, that has to be now, knowing what we know now. Which, of course, to be fair to God, I don't even know he messed up. He didn't know what was going to happen, but knowing what we know now, you take Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, whoever you prefer, and you run with it. That's the biggest miss in the last 10 years. Some people say Pat Mahomes, but we didn't know for a fact we'd be able to trade up to get him. You know for a fact they could have taken Josh Allen.
Yeah. Yeah. The Mahomes, like Ben McAdoo, like, I was like, okay, we picked like 15 picks past there. Like, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, whatever. Off topic tangent, but if my Celtics and your Knicks for Eastern Conference Final this year, we're getting banner 19. How confident are you in your Knicks? Because last year it felt like everyone thought they were going to win it all, and then now it seems a little.
Unfortunately, I think they're going to get past Detroit. I think it'll be maybe 5 or 6, but I think they'll get past Detroit. They're not beating Boston. I hate to say that. I think I do think the Knicks are going to be better in the playoffs than they were in the regular season, because it seems like they kind of coasted the last 2 or 3 weeks, knowing that they wanted to be healthy. They got Mitch back now for really the first time all year. For the last 5 or 6 games, you had full strength Mitch. I do think he makes an impact, and I think it'll be a competitive series. But when you look at the Celtics roster compared to the Knicks, I think the starting fives are at least somewhat comparable. But then when you get to the bench, they destroy us. Like the Knicks in a long series, their bench will just wear us down. So maybe the Knicks push that to 6, but they're not beating Boston. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
I'm just pissed off the Nets didn't tank correctly. I want Cooper Flagg so bad.
He's really good.
I would trade like 10 first-round picks for Cooper Flagg.
I don't know if he's that good, but he's really good.
I'm back. I will say, Luka going to the Lakers. This is where I get a little conspiracy theory with the NBA. I've kind of not watched the NBA as much as I used to. And it used to be like NBA Finals is my favorite sporting event, more so than the Super Bowl. I just love the NBA Finals. For the last couple of years, I've kind of been out. But like LeBron and Luka making a run is going to draw so much eyes. That's I feel like the NBA is lost in ratings. Like, I am paying attention to the Western Conference playoffs a little more than I would before, because LeBron. I got to see what LeBron and Luka. Now they lost their first game,
they got beaten bad in their first.
Yeah, they got smoked, which would be very funny if they end up losing that series.
Yeah.
But all right, Juicy Whiteman. If I see your chat, I'm gonna bring it up most likely. Stop giving me money, damn it. The Celtics love white people from half court. So
stop donating, Juicy White Man.
I know I always get a little uncomfortable with the super chats. Before, when I was with John Boy Media, I'd be like, stop sending these. We don't get them, without saying it flat out. But now I'm like a little more receptive to it. But I also don't want to like just ignore the whole rest of the chat. Let's see. Let's get to a couple more chats. Favorite driver, Josh Berry, Wood Brothers.
I don't know.
What are your expectations for Russ Jameis? Let's say they don't draft a quarterback. They go Abdul Carter. They get an O-lineman at pick 34. What's your expectation? Like, I'm not going to ask you for a win-loss prediction, but like, what are your basic expectations for the season?
I mean, I hope he proves me wrong. But at the end of the day, Bobby, the way I look at Russ is he's better than what we've had. Like, I think that's very fair to say. But the way I look at Russ is like, how much confidence can I really have in Russ? The Denver Broncos did exactly what we did to Daniel Jones to Russ because they couldn't wait to get him off the roster and they didn't want to have to further commit to him. The Pittsburgh Steelers, after making the playoffs last year, and I think Mike Tomlin now being in a make or break year, like Mike Tomlin doesn't win a playoff game this year, he's probably going to get fired. Like,
they won't fire him. They won't though. Like,
maybe
it's
they
crazy.
won't. Maybe they won't. But how much longer can he keep his job? So it's clearly at least the heat's turned up on Tomlin this year. They need to probably, I think, win a playoff game, but certainly at least make the playoffs. He let Russell Wilson go for $10 million with no assurance that they would get Aaron Rodgers. So how much confidence am I supposed to have that Russell Wilson is going to turn back the clock and take the Giants to an 8 or 9 win season? I don't have a ton of confidence, if I'm being honest. And maybe you'll change my opinion on that. I don't know what your thoughts are on Russell Wilson. I think he's competent. I think the thing that I think is useful with him, one, it's going to get the young receivers better reps, right? Malik Neighbors is going to get more opportunities. You hope Jalen Hyatt gets more opportunities. Wandell, the offensive line, I think it's a good way to get more of a barometer on them, like a guy like a JMS. Now that you have a quarterback that's better in terms of pre-snap reads, so I think he has some value to this team with young players, but I just don't have a lot of optimism that he's going to take this team more than 5 or 6 wins this year. And I pray and hope he proves me wrong. But maybe Brian Dable will be an offensive mastermind, and when he has an average NFL quarterback, the offense will suddenly look really good. So we'll see.
Yeah. So without taking the schedule into account, I think something we forget when we talk about an off season is like, upgrade here, upgrade there, upgrade here. And it's like, okay, but what are we upgrading to? Like, and this is the unfortunate about having a whole off season to talk football is you say the same things over and over again. But I've said, like, Paulson Adebo is a free agent I wanted. He's an upgrade.
Yeah.
He gives up like 700 yards and he has like 8 penalties every year. And sometimes those happen. Like the Saints lost the Falcons game because of Paulson Adebo at the end of it. So like it's an upgrade, but he's not a perfect player. Javon Hollins had one interception over the last 2 years. It was a Hail Mary. He's got to be better than what he's been over the last 2 years. So regardless, he's still a big upgrade over Jason Pinnock. And then the quarterback specifically, because anything's a better upgrade than that. I was like, okay, but let's do a quarterback ranking right now, right? Like where are we ranking Russell Wilson? And how many more games is that winning us with, guess what? Other teams have upgrades too. The schedules change. This team never stays healthy and they're thin at depth. So I'm kind of on the same place. But I do think it was the smart thing to do was to bring in Russell Wilson.
I agree with that.
I was, as much as I love watching Matthew Stafford, I was against doing that because I thought it was that reeked of like, what are we doing here? Like, we're going to trade draft picks and pay Stafford $110 million. It's like, yeah, it would definitely make the next 2 years more enjoyable. But like, I didn't.
What does it really accomplish? Like,
yeah, which again, like I don't believe in just like, if you're not winning the Super Bowl, nothing matters. But I think you got to be a little smart with the 37-year-old QB. And that never happened. The Rodgers, I was in on Rodgers until I realized, like, oh, shit, this is Rodgers being Rodgers. Yeah. He hasn't learned anything from the Jets debacle. So then it's like, all right, Russ is a smart. And then Jameis as a backup is a good backup as well, too.
Yeah, he's fine as a backup. And he's, again, a guy that's going to get the ball down the field, and he'll make neighbors happy if he sees the field. I was just under the impression that if they were going to go that route, they were going to draft the quarterback early. But at this point, I got to go with the trend, and I don't think they're doing that. So it looks like Shane, the funny thing is, Bobby, if I were Shane and I was just thinking about saving my job, I would take the quarterback at 3, which is why I kind of, if he doesn't take the quarterback, I kind of admire Shane for that, because the way I look at it, Bobby, is he's putting the team's interest above his own self-own interest, because I think you'd agree with me. There's no guarantees coming back no matter what, but I think you'd agree with me that there's a better opportunity he comes back if he takes Shedeur Sanders at 3, because at that point you could start Russ for 8 or 9 games, and then you let Shedeur see the field for the last 7 or 8. And if he shows any promise, if you're Mara, are you really going to fire the GM and force Shedeur Sanders on the next general manager if he shows promise the last 7 or 8 weeks? So that's why I always thought he was going to go that way. But I actually give him some props for not going that way and doing what he feels is the right thing to do for the Giants long term.
So this is where I agree with that in point. I've even said that talking point.
Yeah.
But what if they really don't like Shador?
They must not.
And like, does that help them save their jobs if they don't really like Shador? Because like, oh no, we gotta win now, right? So we gotta get like Shador is a lose now move. Yeah, so but Doug Analytics asks if they draft Milroe, Shug, Dart, and Russ starts 1-6, do they have to go to the rookie over Jameis? That will be extremely interesting because we saw them skip over Locke for Tommy DeVito. We saw them keep Tyrod Taylor on the bench for Tommy DeVito, which I railed against pretty heavily in the moment. I don't know. If it's Milroe, I don't think there's any way. I think Shug, yeah. I mean, Shug's older anyways. Dart, I think they would probably go to Jameis. And I think they would put off putting because they didn't sign Russ and Jameis both for no reason. Like they did it as in mind for not having to play a rookie QB, even if they draft one. So I actually do think they would hold off as much as they could. I don't think it'd be holding off to the last 3 games of the year, but I think they'd hold off as long as they possibly could.
And ultimately, if a day 2 quarterback plays well for a couple of weeks, that's probably not saving your job anyway. Like if it's a day 1 quarterback, you're kind of committed to that guy if you take him 3 overall. If you take a guy at 35, 64, and he does what Joe Milton did last year, and he shows some promise for a game or 2, you're not going to save your job anyway. You're going to get fired if the team's not good. At least that's my opinion on the matter.
I'm going to punch Juicy. Russ being top 25. Yeah, and Russ is top. Like he's probably, you know what I'm going to do a fucking quarterback rankings for a post-draft mailbag for Russ.
Let's do it real quick, Bobby. Let's go team by team. Washington's better. Eagles are better right now. Yeah, even though I hate Jalen Hurts, but he did win a Super Bowl.
The whole division's better. There's 3.
Yeah, the whole division's better.
NFC North. Caleb, we won't say yet.
I'm going to say this about Caleb, Bobby, and he did not have a great rookie season. I think he's overhated. He's overhated.
Me too, but I'm not gonna say it until he shows it. So we go Goff, Love. I won't say McCarthy.
Not yet.
Falcons. You know what? I'll let you just. I borderline ones I won't use.
I won't say Penix yet. I would sooner say Caleb than Penix. So if you're not going to say Caleb, I'm not going to say Penix.
Okay, yeah. Panthers no. Saints no. Bucks yes. That's 6. Cardinals 7. Rams 8. 49ers 9. Seahawks.
I would go 10. I would slightly go Darnold over him at this point.
All right, so we got 10 in the NFC. Herbert, Geno, Mahomes, Knicks. Yeah.
At least 3. I'd probably 4.
Lawrence, Daniel Jones. No. I should just say that just to piss people off. CJ Stroud.
Yes.
Steelers, no one. Browns, no one. Bengals, yes. Lamar. Justin Fields, no. Drake May.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tua. If we didn't say Caleb, it's hard to say May.
Yeah. But let's just and Josh Allen, Tua, whatever. But again, we're talking about like,
yeah.
Well, we're eliminating the guys who we were borderline. We're talking about like number 18.
You mentioned about like close to 20, and that was without including Drake May, Caleb Williams, like guys who I would
Cam Ward,
so, probably going to pass him this year. So at best with Russ, I think you're getting a slightly below average starting quarterback in the NFL, which is a big upgrade over what we've had. I mean, Daniel Jones, when he's been on the field, hasn't been very good the last 2 years, and he hasn't played a lot. We've been, we've been subject to our second and third stringers for more than half the year the last 2 years. So it's certainly a big improvement for the Giants, but it's not a big enough improvement where I think we're going to compete for anything this year in this division with the powerhouses that we have. I will tell you, Bobby, if they take Abdul Carter, which we both agree at this point, we think they are. If Shane Bowen can't get this defense to look good next year, he needs to be kicked out of the NFL. Now, I'm not saying they need to be the 85 Bears, but this should be a good defense next year with the additions you made in free agency to that secondary. You bring in Abdul Carter. Obviously, you're hoping Dex and Kayvon can stay relatively healthy, but the Giants have the makings, I think, of a potential top 10 defense if they take Abdul Carter. I don't think that's crazy to say.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. If we had a good defensive coordinator, then it should be an expectation.
Yeah,
like if they had a defensive coordinator you really believed in with that talent, it would be an expectation to be a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking just, like rankings. And no, they're like a legitimate top 10 defense, a defense you can be proud of. It should be. Especially, you see what we'll do on day 2 of the draft. So going to go here in a minute. Again, make sure to, go to pickpool.app, download the app, sign up using the password GNS4L. So we'll go. Let's see. There was a chat that pissed me off. Jay Ferries. Yay, another skinny edge rusher. Yeah, let's just leave out all the great things he does and just say skinny edge rusher. Yep. Guy's got like freakish bend. 16 sacks, 24 or 12 sacks, 24 tackles for a loss. The team that needs great players. Let's not take him because Kayvon's skinny. Let's let Kayvon Thibodeau stop us from taking Abdul Carter.
I'm not just saying this, Bobby, because of where he played and because of the number he wears. He is he reminds me so much of Micah Parsons. People said the same things about Micah Parsons. They said they have a very similar build as well. The way he plays, he's very similar to Micah Parsons. So I'm not going to let people say, oh, he's a couple of pounds underweight, scare me from taking the guy. The guy is a freak. The only thing that worries me about him is potential injury. He had the foot injury. You worry that could be reoccurring. Fair. The shoulder injury, that worries me. But if he's on the field, that's
legitimately my only worry, right? Yeah. Like there's things I want him to get a little better at. That's legitimately my only worry is the injuries.
Yeah.
Ask the tow truck driver he beat up how skinny he is. Someone messaged. I said on a show recently. I was like, who hasn't wanted to beat up a tow truck driver before?
They've always been pretty nice to me for the most part.
Dude, I had a little bit of road rage today, and I'll say this. So there's a 4-way stop sign, and this lady literally blows through it, right? Mm-hmm. And this is a 4-way where people have died because of that thing, and she just doesn't stop. Like does 40 through a 4-way stop sign. Could have killed somebody, and I'm like, you idiot. And then I was like, you know what? I went and chased her down. I was like, you just fucking blew through the stop sign, you idiot. And then drove away. I was I was like legitimately mad. I was like, like people have died at that 4-way. I probably shouldn't have shared
I've never done that.
Blown through a stop sign.
I'm not a road rage
40
guy.
miles per hour.
I'm not a road rage guy.
Me either. But I was like, that's legitimately like, you need to know that like you did that.
Like I'm the type of driver, Bobby, when I'm in the car, if you're in the car with me, you have to like strongly encourage me to honk if somebody's not moving at the red light. Like
I don't do that. I'm not saying I'm free of road rage.
I wish I was a little bit more like that. Like be a little bit more assertive and honk. I'm a little too passive when it comes to driving.
But I was like, I went into like, Mr. Do Good. I was like, you could have killed somebody. I went full Karen on this lady. It's probably the most Karen thing I ever did. But I was like, you just blew through a stop sign at 40 miles per hour, you fucking moron. Irish Rover says, great to see Chris on Bobby's Giants Nation. I think as long as Schoen picks one of the top 3 prospects for our third pick, Shane will be safe next year. Dave Shaw will be in question regardless.
Happy to be here, Irish, and thank you for checking.
Fabian says hello. All right, so we're gonna get rolling. I'm gonna let you watch your Knicks as they try and come back from their 45-17 deficit. All right, dude. Thank you. I mean, people know where to get you. Are you and Bad Dog streaming the draft?
Of course, yeah. Always do that. And I know you'll be streaming on your channel, I'm sure. And
we'll call you on day 3. I like the tradition. If we call you and what do you want in the next pick?
We'll recap the picks, and you're gonna know a lot more about it than me. You go to all the Senior Bowls, and
I'm hoping so. That's my worst nightmare. Is like they get to the 3rd round. It's like I don't know who this guy is.
Who was the prospect? Oh, it was Cordell Flott. You were pissed off about because you didn't know him, right? A couple of years ago.
It wasn't even just I didn't know him. I was so pissed off because I should have known. So one, Josh Azuda was pick 67. I knew there was interest by there in the Giants. There was like rumors about that. So, but we're up all night the night before, doing the first round recap.
Yeah.
And I literally fell asleep watching Josh Azuda film in a chair, and never. So I watched like 10 minutes of it. And then I'm like, damn it. Like I could have been fully ready, like fresh memory on this guy. And I wasn't. And then they get Flott, who they had a top 30 visit with. And I was like, are you serious? So now every top 30 visit we watch. Like the one, and another one I didn't watch was Trey Hawkins, who had a top 30 visit because I didn't have all 22 film. So I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and watch broadcast cornerback Old Dominion film. And they fucking took him. So,
and then he was your favorite player in training camp.
Oh, he was everyone's favorite. He was the Giants' favorite. They moved Adoree Jackson into the nickel corner because his training camp, which is like looking at how that ended up turning out. That was kind of insane. They're like, oh shit, you've had a good week of practice. Adoree Jackson, you're changing your entire position.
Yeah, that probably should have told you all you needed to know about that secondary that year. You had a good week of practice. You're a starter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which was like insane.
Yeah.
But then you like talk to yourself. It's like, you know what? Teams hit on like day 3 picks all the time. When are we going to have one of those again? And it didn't. To be fair, Josh Azudu putting you to sleep is a pretty good analysis of his talent. That's been pretty mean to Josh Azudu, but not wrong either.
It's also pretty true, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No offense, Josh, if you're watching.
All right, we're gonna go, Chris. Thank you as always. We'll talk soon. I appreciate all the support from you.
Of course, man.
And obviously always from the listeners. So tomorrow, for all you guys, Travis Hinter film breakdown at 10 a.m. Going to do a fan mock draft where we go through the simulator. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it by poll in the chat or if I just have one person on for each pick. We'll see, but make sure to look out for that. Probably same time. Chris, we'll talk soon.
That sounds time consuming, man. If you're going to have 32 different people on, that sounds.
Well, no, it would just be the Giants picks.
Oh, just the Giants. Okay, that's doable. That's doable.
Yeah. 32 picks would be time consuming, but that's all I got these days. All right, Chris, appreciate you. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Go check out the defensive tackle preview. Until then, let's go Big Blue.
Have a good night, guys.